Welcome to the follow-up video for my review of the Moza Mini-Mi 2019 version, or V2, as some people have named it. Today we're going to go over the spreadsheet with multiple details explaining the differences between all of the 17 gimbals that I looked at. Hopefully it will help you, if you're deciding to purchase one of these, get one that has the features you want so you can save money and only pay for what you need. To start with, the first row has the name of the gimbal model that we're looking at, and the second row is the price. If there's yellow, that means it comes at two prices, and it's because of the carrying case. And in my opinion, $20 is too much of a premium just for a case. Now, you might be able to put it in a dedicated bag or something you already have, but you have to be careful. Now, the boxes that say red with no mean that's the feature it doesn't have. Green with yes, it does have it. Yellow means there's a problem. And for anything that stands out, I'll mention that in the video. This column has the Amazon item number, so you can find it really quickly if you want to look at the items page. Now, this first one here is whether or not the gimbal comes with a tripod. As you can see here, the Moza Mini-Mi, both the 2018 and the 2019 version, have a tripod that comes with it, which you could probably use for other things, but I recommend keeping it in the bag with the gimbal so you don't lose it, because what if you're using the gimbal and you need it? Because the reason is, if this gimbal is on, let me demonstrate, and you set it down, it's going to freak out. So I turn it on, it balances, and I set it down. Watch. You don't want to do that because you're going to damage the gimbal. The sacrifices I make for you guys. But if you set it down with the tripod on, it's a happy gimbal. Some YouTubers have purchased gimbals that didn't have a tripod, and they went ahead and bought a different one off Amazon, a random one, and they say that you have to be careful because it might get blown over by the wind or whatever. And I think that's because this tripod was designed for this gimbal. Get a different one, and the diameter of the base and the distance from the bottom of the gimbal to the surface it's sitting on, it's all math, it's all geometry. You know, like I was talking about in my other video, tesseracts and things that I don't understand. But if you get one that comes with the gimbal, you're sure it's going to be the right size and shape to hold it steady. This next one is whether or not it comes with the carrying case. I mentioned that earlier. So if you think it's important that it comes with a carrying case, keep an eye on that. Now, these two are marked in yellow. It's just a bag. But I actually tried the Snoppa Atom, and it had a bag that came in the package. But as you can see here from these pictures, it doesn't show it. So the Snoppa Atom and the FeiyuTech V-Log Pocket, they come with a carrying bag at least. Retractable selfie arm. Now, only two of these had that, the Moza Mini-S and the FeiyuVimbal 2. And I'm going off of reviews I saw on YouTube again, because the Moza Mini-S doesn't have a picture of it extending on the product page. Here's a FeiyuVimbal 2, so you can see what I'm talking about. It's so that you can keep the controls of the gimbal near your thumb, but have the phone move a couple of feet away from you. On-the-fly orientation switch. Now, that's where you press a button on the gimbal, and the phone rotates from landscape to portrait. This gimbal doesn't do that, and I didn't need it because I'm not really going to be posting to those types of media platforms. And if a channel gets big enough and I do, I'll buy a different gimbal just for that. But it does support portrait mode. They all do. So we're not going to get into that. But if you need to be able to hit a button and it switches from landscape to portrait without taking the phone out and putting it back in and all that, that's what you need this information for. Horizontal / flashlight mode. Moza calls it inception mode, which is this. This is important because, as you can see, the clearance here, the design of the gimbal has to support being able to move past that motor without hitting it. So not all of them can do that. The next one's time-lapse mode, and that's a feature where you film where you're only saving one frame per X amount of times. Like, say, for example, you're saving one picture a second. I have a great example of that I did in my last video when I reviewed this gimbal. So if you want to learn more about that, check that out. At least two that have yellow, Feiyu Gimbal 2 and a Feiyu Vlog Pocket. I saw some negative reviews on YouTube. And this one, I don't know. I couldn't find information about it in the reviews or in the manual. Hyperlapse or moving time lapse, all that is where you're moving the camera and you've got time-lapse mode on. So I don't understand why it's an advertised feature. If you know more, or maybe you have a gimbal that it separates the two somehow, let me know in the comments, because I'd like to know why. Because the Moza advertises itself as having hyperlapse mode, but its menu doesn't have hyperlapse anywhere. But I've got it to work just by walking while having time-lapse mode on. Motionlapse or advanced time-lapse or motion time-lapse. This is a little bit more advanced. Again, the Feiyu models got negative reviews for it, but it's where you go into the app that the gimbal uses and you rotate the device with the gimbal and you say start here or end here, and I want you to begin here, and it moves the device based off the amount of time you told it to take to move for it to move that far and the points where you set it. Again, I don't want to go into explaining more or too many details about what it does. I go over it in detail in my review of the Moza Mini-Mi 2019. Slow motion. The Moza software doesn't support this. The app's called Moza Genie, but I've listed the ones that do, or at least the ones where I found information that it does. My guess is it's saving more frames per second than normal, and it slows it down so that you see slow motion. Sport mode or fast motion. This is important. I chuckled because they can't use the same term. Some of them say phone go. Like, what are you trying to say? Phone go? My phone goes with me everywhere anyway. But anyways, so let's say I've got pan follow, as some companies call it, and Moza calls it yaw follow. That's where it moves left and right. But if I turn on fast follow, you see it moves faster. And this is going to be a smooth motion, so you don't have the jerky vibrations that you get from natural human movement. And here's the up-down without, with, and it moves faster. Changing modes on the gimbal, as you just saw a moment ago. I changed the follow mode on the gimbal. Now, you never want to change any of the modes or zoom or any of the other stuff by touching the phone screen, because you're going to make the phone vibrate, and that vibration is going to translate into your footage. So let's say you're filming and you want to change your follow mode, or you want to change a zoom in the middle of a shot. You want those controls to be on the gimbal. not limited to your phone screen. Phone screen's fine if you're going to do it before you start recording, but not if you're doing a more complex thing. Like I did a thing where I was walking and I changed the follow modes while I was recording. I couldn't do that if I didn't have those controls. Mode indicator on gimbal. Now the ones that are red, they just don't have it. So that's going to be a little more difficult because you're going to have to look at the app and get your mode from there. Now the ones that have say green and yes have it. The coolest one I saw for this was the FeiyuTech SPG2. It had an LCD screen. Now the ones that say blinking lights, those are going to be really hard to tell what's going on. It's like learning Morse code for gimbals. Like, okay, on, off, on, off. It's like dot, 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 dot. What am I supposed to discern from that? Am I supposed to memorize these dot patterns to know what follow mode's on? Not cool, in my opinion. The ones that say colors, they got a different color for each mode, and that might work for you. Snoppa Atom, actually I tried this one, and you know what? I'll go ahead and change that one just a second. There you go, it's changed. Why I changed that is because I couldn't tell from the manual and from the reviews what was going on. But then I got one, and it's got two different colors, blue or green, because it's only got two different options for its follow modes. Now, lock mode toggle / trigger. The Moza Mini-Mi 2019 doesn't have it, but the Mini-Mi S, which I believe was their model that came out in 2017, it's where you could hold the trigger down. It would be on the back, right there, on the back of the gimbal, to temporarily lock the rotations. I'll give you a quick example. This gimbal, when it turns on, its pan follow is on, which is this. But if you turn it off, the phone stays pointing in that direction no matter what you do. It may be useful for you if you're in one mode and you're following your subject and you want to stop following your subject for whatever reason and lock it and keep the device pointing in that direction while you move somewhere. And then if that is important to you, make sure you get a gimbal that has a trigger on the back. This line here is a little bit different because not all gimbals have 3 different follow mode functions. And I'm talking about pan, turn that off, pitch, and roll. See, the roll is going left, right like that, like it's going to tilt. Now, the Moza Mini-Mi is the only one that allows you to control each one of these independently. So you can have the pan and the roll, or no roll and pan. For those are just a couple examples. I'm not going to go into all the different examples. There would be 9 different ones, obviously, because 3 times 3 is 9. Ooh, I did a simple math. Look at me. I'm a brainiac. Now, I'm actually going to go through each one of these individually because I read the manual, and from what I can discern from the manual, I'm going to give you that information straight away. The DJI Osmo Mobile 3 is limited to follow mode and free mode. It starts up into follow mode, and we'll switch from free mode to follow mode, return to follow mode. So what is follow mode? It looks like it does left, right, and up, down based off of this picture because it also says it could be positioned by hand. That's cool. Let's do the next one. Limited to follow mode and lock mode. Now, that's the same thing. I remember looking at that manual earlier. They just changed it from free mode to lock mode. Now the Moza Mini-S, I couldn't tell. They call it FPV, tilt, or lock. FPV, first person view, maybe? But they just say that the mode turns on or off, not what it actually does. You see right here, follow, tilt, locked, and FPV. So, where else? It says FPV there. And here, I've already gone over this, how the Moza Mini-Mi versions have all three that can be controlled independently. The Hohem iSteady Mobile Plus has tilt mode, roll, and pan. So that's probably all three. Let's check out the manual. Here's a manual I don't like too much. It's a picture and you have to zoom in. Who wants to zoom in on a manual? I just want to scroll. All right. Can you read that? I can't read that. Pan following. Both roll and access are locked. It moves left and right. So pan following is left and right. Oh, my eyes are hurting reading this garbage. Pan and tilt. Left, right, and up and down. So it doesn't have all following. It does. It has an all following, which is all three. But chordic. It says chordic click instead of quadruple click. Well, it's not that bad for having bad English. Nah, I can understand what it means. But it says all following. It is not turning on and off the roll feature. So still not independent. But at least you have all three. Now for the Snoppa Atom, they call theirs pan omni or lock. And since I tried one for a week and a half or so, I can tell you that it's just, you get the pan or pan and pitch or a lock mode. They're not independent and you only get the first two. FeiyuTech SBG2. It has panning mode, lock mode, follow mode, and all follow mode. That's four things, so it must have the three things, but not independent. We'll go ahead and look at that manual. Loading, loading, loading. Loading, loading, loading. I'll get demonetized if I keep doing that tune. So, follow. I mean, demonetized. I'm not even monetized yet. Single tap is panning mode / lock mode. Double tap is follow mode. Triple tap is all follow. Quadruple, hey, they used the word right. Quadruple tap is auto rotation. What's auto rotation? Please refer to the chapter auto rotation mode in page 11. All right, what page am I on? 7, 8, 9, 10. Almost there. Auto rotation. The SBG gimbal can easily create constant speed movements in the auto rotation mode. This mode can be used for recording both regular video and motion time-lapse photography. Okay, I don't know what that means. Like, maybe When you turn your wrist a little bit, it rotates a little bit. When you turn it a bunch, it does a bunch. That'd be cool. The Gimbal 2 has pan mode, follow mode, and lock mode. So that's just going to be your left, right, and up, down, or locked. Your FeiyuTech V-Log Pocket is the same. The ZHIYUN Smooth 4 has pan following, and locking, so it's pretty much the same. And so is this ZHIYUN Smooth Q2. And the Neewer. The Neewer. I keep saying it wrong. I keep saying Newer. It's not Newer, it's Neewer. So many YouTubers say it right, and I hear them all the time. Like, there's even Neewer guitar pedals, and I look at those on YouTube all the time. They're cool. So, Freevision Filter M, semi-follow, follow, and POV mode. What? It makes me make a face. What? What's POV mode? Are we going to be loading for days? Loading. Semi-follow. Pan axis, so left and right. Here is where they name the modes: follow mode, POV mode, and lock mode. POV mode. None of the tilt, roll, and pan axes are locked. So all three axes move. Okay. Roll axis is locked. Pan and tilt smoothly. Look, there's a picture of its status indicator with the different colors. Okay, so that answers that question. We got three more. Freevision Filter M Pro, semi-follow, full follow, lock mode, POV mode. The same as the Filter M. So the Freevision Filter MSE, same as the other two. And the last one is the FunSnap Capture 2. Pan follow, full follow, and lock. So that's just going to be your left, right, and your up, down, and lock mode. Battery bank for the phone. This is cool. I'm going to show you. So you see what I'm talking about. This is an outlet to charge the phone. And if you want to see a demonstration of me using it, check out my Moza Mini-Mi 2019 review, because I was able to successfully use it while recording. Next one is wireless charging. I'll actually take this phone out of here for the first time. Show you. Now, the Moza Mini-Mi 2018 version was the first gimbal to have this feature. And that's, am I doing that upside down? There you go. You can wirelessly charge your phone if your phone supports that. Now, this one's whether or not the gimbal comes with a microphone port. Some gimbals have a little microphone port right here. And that's where, if you pair the gimbal to the app for the gimbal, then the video recording will come from the Bluetooth. And you can plug in a microphone into the side of your gimbal to capture your recording. Now, that might introduce latency, but anybody recording with one of these that's using that feature is a little bit more advanced and probably understands how to ungroup items in their editor so that they could get their audio sync lined up. But that's a great way so you don't have to have a second device in your pocket like you're using a lab or something. Also would be important for doing interviews and stuff like that. Maybe you can be doing an interview and have a lab in your pocket and the microphone on the device pointed at the talent or subject, as it were. Controlling the zoom from the gimbal is important, and I went over this in a little bit more detail in my review of the gimbal. But with this gimbal, you tap this once to zoom all the way in, tap it again to zoom all the way out. And if you want to zoom in increments, you just turn it clockwise, and if you want to zoom out, you turn it counterclockwise. Now the lines where I have yes, but it's yellow, there were some negative reviews because it's like a shaky zoom or it stutters. And I experienced that as well with the Moza. Now, the control is Bluetooth. There's only one phone where it was no, and it was this thing that I think is a little weird. It's like this sort of OTG cable. You don't actually pair the gimbal to your phone using their app. You have to use a cable. Let's switch to front camera. That means, is there a control on the gimbal so you can switch from the rear-facing camera to the front-facing camera, otherwise known as a selfie camera? And that may be important to you. Testing may need to be done in each one to see if the app locks up or has difficulty if doing this function while recording. Gimbal rotation on the gimbal, and that's where you use the joystick on the gimbal to rotate it while the device is on. And this is going to be an important feature because while you're filming, you want to point the device a certain way. You can use a joystick. Even if you're using a follow mode, you're going to want to tweak it while you're filming. Now rotate horizontal 360. This is required for inception mode because, as you can see, it can rotate forever and ever 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 and never have to hit itself, because some of the devices, when you pack them up, have 3 places you have to lock it. This gimbal has 2. There's one right there. If I turn it the correct direction, there we go, I can lock it. And then if I collapse the counterweight control and then turn this way, it's locked, so I could pack it away, like so. Foldable / pocket. The DJI Osmo Mobile 3, the Moza Mini-S, Snoppa Atom, the FeiyuTech Vlog Pocket, ZHIYUN Smooth 4, and the ZHIYUN Smooth Q2 all do this. And that's where it not only has to be locked in the different things, but it then folds over. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but as you can see here, the Osmo Mobile 3 does it. And the Moza Mini-S, that's what it looks like for that one. Rebalance after rotating the phone. With the Moza Mini-Mi, you have to adjust the balance because you put the phone in, you adjust this dealy to the right spot so that's balanced before you turn on the device. See, it's balanced. And now if I wanted to use portrait, unscrew that, turn this, make sure I just got all my ducks in a row here. All right. Now I have to rebalance it. I have to slide that. And it's balanced. So if that's a con for you, I've listed the data out there for you. There were 3 I couldn't get information on it, whether in the manuals or in reviews on YouTube. Now, that's why I switched from red is no to red is yes, because yes being it takes extra time to move your phone from portrait to landscape or landscape to portrait, and there's only 4 that actually do it to where you don't have to rebalance it. Additional counterweight required. These are all a no. There was one that I saw that had little metal things that attach to here so that depending on how heavy your phone is, changes which weight you put on there. And I saw that as a pretty bad con. There are other cons about that one I don't remember. But when I started getting to making the spreadsheet, I was like, I'll just leave that one out. By the way, just a little tangent. But there were other ones that I left out because I couldn't get enough information about them. I mean, some of them had a whole bunch of question marks on them. Now, moving on to the app, I've listed the name of the app for each device. These orange ones are something a little weird going on. Like the DJI Osmo Mobile 2 has an option in Filmic Pro, and DJI Osmo Mobile 3 uses a completely different app than the first one, the official DJI Go, and then they moved the DJI Mimo. And there's another weird thing where there's two apps, and that's with the FeiyuTech 2. Now, down here, at the time of doing this, I was actually doing this like my research was being done the second week of December of 2019. But you can see how low the reviews are. Like, here's just an example. The reviews for DJI Osmo Mobile 2 had 3.2 stars out of 49,000 reviews. Okay, so that's a huge sample rate. Some of these have a really small sample rate, like the Moza Mini-Mi app on iOS only has 16 reviews. So take this data as you see fit, but I'm going to just let you know ahead of time, all the like beginning to learn gimbal stuff works great in Moza Mini-Mi, for example, but the more advanced stuff, it takes practice to get it to work right, and some of it just doesn't work reliably at all. So that's probably why the reviews are so low. But then again, I own the gimbal and I'm keeping it, and one of the reasons is because of the app. Because there's cool stuff you can do in the app, like control exposure and control focus without having to go into buried menus or anything. You just tap the screen, point it at that, say, set your focus to that, and point at something, say you want more exposure. You point at something dark and say, set the exposure to that, and you see the screen get brighter in front of your face, and you're like, fantastic. Now let's point at what I'm actually trying to take a picture of or film and hit record. The next line, does the app require login? This is a con for me because why would you need to log in to use an app? Doesn't make any sense. But some of these, I couldn't even get that. It's like you cannot use the app without the gimbal, and that's a con for me. I mean, I hope you guys are listening. The app itself is free advertising because people are downloading the apps before they buy the gimbal. And if they like the app, they're going to buy the gimbal. Come on, free advertising. I understand. Advertising is an expense. Why not get as much of it as possible? Not only that, if you put a barrier, like log in, there's a lot of concerns these days about privacy and all that. You don't need to know if I'm using your app or not. I bought your device. Isn't that enough for you? So the next one is whether or not the app can let you save to the SD card. This is probably more important to people who own devices with expandable memory. Like, Apple doesn't do this. Well, but it's going to be important if you're recording all day. Let's say you have a plan. I'm going to go to the park, and then I'm going to go drive down the city and shoot some time-lapse or whatever. And then I'm going to go see my friend do an interview. And you have all these things, like you're planning out your whole day, and you don't have a bunch of different things to save your stuff to, and say your device supports 128 gigabyte SD card, like I knew this one last week. Note 6 has an 128 SD card that you can put in there. And then one of the newer notes after that will take a 256. And that's a lot of footage because, it's just a few gigs. It's just shooting an hour of 1080p. And so this one, the DJI Osmo Mobile 2, I couldn't find information on that, or the Hohem iSteady Mobile Plus, or the Neewer. The ones that are green and yes, I did see in the app, or I read reviews that they could do it. These ones that say red and no, they can't. Object tracking. Now, the ones that are in yellow, there were negative reviews on YouTube for that. And that's where you hit a button on the screen, and then you draw a square around the object you want to track. And depending on what follow mode you had set on the gimbal, it will automatically rotate to follow that object. This can be done to follow faces, but you have to be careful because I think it's trying to do all these crazy calculations about pixels and exposure and in a three-dimensional space, and you could confuse it. This is true for any gimbal. Face tracking is completely different from object tracking. When I first got this gimbal, I didn't know the difference. And I had like a whole week of fun doing all the features up until I got, okay, I'm going to do the more complicated ones later. And one of those was the tracking mode. And I didn't realize at the time that face tracking was different than object tracking. These two, I couldn't find information on it. And these ones don't do it at all. But what face tracking is, sorry, I should have led with this, is where it detects that there's a face there and it follows it. So you're not going to use this in a crowd or like a sporting event, like you're going to your kid's basketball game. You're not even going to want to use object tracking in a basketball game or something like that. But you're just shooting the subject is the only person there. Focus lock and exposure lock, may have picked that up earlier. It's where you want it to lock the focus and or the exposure so that isn't hunting for these while you're filming. A great example is like my webcams are probably gonna. Oh, they're not doing it. Yeah, there you go. See, it's adjusting focus automatically as I move. Okay, and it's also adjusting exposure. Now let's say you don't want it to do that. You say you're doing something, you have a dramatic scene that you planned out where you're going to be in frame, you're going to leave frame and re-enter frame, and you do not want the focus or the exposure to change. So you set it up ahead of time. And by you, I mean the subject you're filming. Duh. Now, some of these had focus lock, but not exposure lock. Some of them I couldn't tell, especially these ones where you can't get into the app to find out. Now, supports 4K in the app. Obviously, the ones that say yes can do it. The ones that say yes, according to specs, I couldn't confirm because I couldn't get into the app. Now, the funny thing is about the Moza Genie app, it will turn it on even if your phone doesn't have 4K, and it will shoot some garbage that you can't play back. It's like locked up my VLC on my laptop when I was playing around. But at least it has it. So if you have a newer phone like a Note 6 or an iPhone, it's totally going to support it. And I confirm these with reviews. Now there's 3 here because they all use this FeiyuTech app. Some reviews say yes, some reviews say no. So it probably does and didn't used to. That's what I'm thinking. Gesture support. I mentioned this because it was something really cool that DJI Osmo Mobile 3 does that I couldn't see, or at least none of the other reviews mentioned. That is face tracking for when you don't have someone else on the other side of the device to turn it on. And it's basically something about like you put your gimbal on a floor tripod and turn it on, you pair it and everything, and then you turn on the mode, and then you go around to the other side and you do some like this. I'm not sure. Well, not the Spock symbol. Low. You do like a piece or that or something, and then it knows, oh, I'm looking for a face now. And then it can follow you. If any of you guys own one of these and have tried it, please let me know in the comments how it's worked for you, because I'm really interested to find out more information than what I could find on YouTube. Max payload, that's how much weight you can put on the gimbal, and it should be able to support it and keep it balanced. The DJI Osmo Mobile 2, couldn't find information on that, and I couldn't for the Freevision Delta M either. But as you can see, this is one of the reasons why I got the Moza Mini-Mi 2019, is that it supports up to 300 grams. And I was able to use like a clip-on macro lens or a charging cable or whatever. Some of these, like the 240 or 255 or 275, I might be able to use those for the same thing. Your mileage will vary. The next one is how heavy is the gimbal itself. Is that information missing? Oh, yeah, the 2018. It's probably the same weight as the 2019, but their documentation and webpage have mysteriously disappeared. So I think they discontinued it, even though it's on Amazon. As you can see right here, this is the 2018. You see the case right there, and that's the 2019. V1, V2 of the Moza Mini-Mi. In my experience, walking, and I hold it like this when I'm walking to do the demonstration of the anti-vibration or whatever, and it doesn't hurt my arm or anything. But if I'm standing still for an extended period of time, I do like to do this, but it doesn't feel heavy to me. It just feels like, like you're holding your arm out. And you're like, can I put my arm down now? When is this going to be over? Whatever. Some of them are heavier than others, and if that's important to you, I've got the data there for you. The charge time, how long does it take to charge? And the Moza Mini-Mi 2019 takes 3.5 hours. Now, I actually haven't depleted its charge ever. I've only charged it once a week, and I shoot 4 times a week. And the only time I've actually had to charge it because it ran out while I was using it was when I first got it. And it says 3.5 hours here, but you plug it in. Let me go ahead and demonstrate here. Charge it on the back, right here. And then this red light turns on. So that time that I was using it and it died because I just got it from Amazon, I was like, sweet, it's here. Let's learn how this thing works. Oh, it's dead. I plugged it in, did a couple things around the house, came back. The light was off. The battery time, now your mileage is going to vary because no two batteries are exactly the same, but these are the specs that I got off the old internets. If you're using this as a battery bank for your phone while filming, it's going to reduce this, obviously. And that changes on like if you're recording or if you're not recording, whatever. Maximum phone width. Now, this is one of the reasons why I got the Moza Mini-Mi 2019, is that it had one of the largest widths it could do. And what I'm talking about is, if you can see it, this clamp here for holding the phone. How far apart can you go? So this is a Note 4. And you can see that I've got about 1 centimeter more that I can go. You don't want to put a case in there because of how the rubber grips, they're like super tight and hold on to your phone real good so it doesn't fall out. After I've balanced and turned on a gimbal, I've never had my phone fall out. Just saying it. So down here I've got the specs. Feel free to correct me if I type something wrong up here, and also the manual. And if you keep scrolling, I've got the YouTube videos where I got some of the other information. That's not the only source that I used. I also used reviews. I read reviews to fill out this data for you guys. And I hope this data has been helpful for you. All right, now for the summary section. From what I can see, affordable cell phone gimbals just started coming out in 2017. Currently, the market is filled with all kinds of brands and models, and it's hard to discern which one is going to be useful for you. A lot of videos mention draining the smartphone battery, so keep that in mind when you're watching them, that it's not really that bad. This is happening because the camera app is running with your screen on. In my experience on a Note 4, I drained the battery in 1 hour of recording using no gimbal at all. And that was with OpenCam, which isn't even a gimbal app. So keep in mind, if you are taking long recordings, use the gimbal's power bank or bring a power bank with you. Now, DJI. In videos, I heard that you can use an app called Filmic Pro. I tried it, and I could not find features like face tracking. In order to use Filmic Pro on Android, you have to first install Aptoid, which is a third-party app store. And that might be a barrier for some people. They might not want to do that. Filmic Pro does not require logging in, but the DJI apps do. Filmic Pro is in the Apple Store, but it's $14.99, so it's not free. It had 3.5 stars in the reviews, and it had 4.4 stars in the reviews on Aptoid. Pairing a DJI Osmo with Filmic Pro is a little harder as the option is buried. It would take at least 4 steps to pair, where with the Moza Genie app, for example, it takes 2 steps. From what I can see in other gimbal reviews, they are also just 2 steps. From what I could see in my short time testing Filmic Pro, it is that it has focus lock, but not exposure lock. Go ahead and correct me in the comments, because Filmic Pro might be one of those more popular apps that the more knowledgeable videography geeks use. Moza. You can download and test the Moza Genie app. It does not require you to log in or even have a gimbal present to use the app. This is a great feature. This means you can use features like focus lock, exposure lock, white balance, resolution. There's some filters in there, all without logging in or pairing to the gimbal. Hohem. I couldn't actually find the iSteady mobile on Amazon, only the Plus. It has probably been discontinued. Since I couldn't find enough data for it, I didn't keep the data that I did find. The app for the old gimbal, the iSteady mobile, actually works without a gimbal. It's called Hohem Studio. You just have to swipe and tap enter option to get in. ISO, white balance, aspect ratio, and resolution options are also available there. Unfortunately, it does not have options to save to the SD card. The app the iSteady Mobile Plus uses is called Hohem Gimbal, and it won't let you use it without a gimbal, so I couldn't check it out. The Hohem website provides the same link for the manuals for the iSteady Mobile and the iSteady Mobile Plus. This supports my theory that the original was discontinued. Snoppa. This comes in pink. Now that is cool. Probably don't want to pay $150 by buying it from Amazon directly. But you can get one from TomTop, where it was assembled by helicopters, apparently. The online manual is very clear and thorough. The app has lots of features that are easy to understand and find, like changing the focus time, changing to external storage, calibrating the gimbal, and more. The Atom comes with the correct angle Type-C and Lightning charging cables. The FeiyuTech, SBG, and Gimbal 2 manuals are very detailed. They describe it. Every button's function, complete with diagrams. The app FeiyuOn at first appears to require login, but then only asks for your email address. Beware, this may be a mechanism for spam. It requires a gimbal to use, so I couldn't test it. The SBG2 has an LCD display which communicates current mode. The Gimbal 2 manual mentions 2 different apps, FeiyuOn and ViCool, with no explanation for the reason for the 2 different apps. This is weird. There are QR codes to scan for FeiyuOn, and only one mentioned the ViCool app regarding a lens setting. When you load up the ViCool app, it immediately recommends that you use the other app. Then it wants you to log in. So I log in with none@none.com. I could get into the test the app, and I could check out the log out option, lol. I'm not sure if FeiyuTech understands what access control, or maybe they're hoping we don't understand what it is. According to the review by MeBooth, the app has the most extensive panorama and stitch modes available. You put the camera on a tripod, like so, and it takes multiple pictures, moving the phone in between shots, and stitches them together. Now, ZHIYUN, the Smooth Force specs page has what? No specs? Oh, click parameters? There we go. The manual for the Smooth 4 and the Smooth Q are detailed and have clear diagrams. They call their sport mode Phone Go. And I think that sounds a bit silly. What's wrong with sport mode? Moza calls it sport gear mode. Like, what are they saying? They're Metal Gear fans? Like, I can imagine Snake walking into a giant hangar, and there's this massive Moza Mini-Mi standing there, and he's like, sport gear. Oh, I was talking in the ZHIYUN section. Sorry. Neewer gimbal. I couldn't find their app. called Gimbal Pro in the Apple Store, but I found a link to it while searching around for the manual. When searching for the app in the Apple Store, it shows DJI gimbal and drone products. According to video reviews I've seen, the manual comes in with the gimbal and has a QR code so you can scan to get the app for the iOS. The Android app says it was made by app_developer 888. The iOS version says it was made by Heilong Li. Wonder what this is all about. The app allows you to use the app without logging in or even having a gimbal paired. It has an HDR mode, which didn't seem to do anything on my Note 4. It might work on newer phones. There weren't enough reviews to determine if you could save the SD card, and I couldn't check the settings menu in the app without connecting to a gimbal. Freevision. Freevision Filter M, Filter M Pro, and Filter M SE manuals had more details than most, but less than some. FunSnap. Last but not least, I actually discovered the Capture 2 ball looking up apps for another device. The app requires that you set up an account. If you set up one, you have some features you can try like timers, exposure time, and HDR, but there's this weird typo in the app. The gallery is called Glary. It has actual face tracking, which may be more useful than the object tracking on Moza Mini that I tested. Now the PDF manual. The PDF manual isn't text. It's an image. That means you can't search for text in it. But look, you can't say mount the mobile phone. Control F, find in document, mount. See? Can't search for text. That's going to be hard for some people if they just want to find a specific thing before they buy it or even after they buy it. Look at this crazy stuff. Probably have to download it and then zoom in. But I digress. It's a pretty decent manual, albeit pretty blurry on account of being an image PDF. Like ZHIYUN, they call their sport mode Phone Go. Really, if there isn't a standard, why doesn't someone just call it Fast Follow, which is what it is? Why call it something that isn't indicative of what it does? All right. Other YouTubers, feel free to use this sheet to check what features your gimbal has for your reviews. I've watched hours of reviews, but most of them only went over a few of the features, maybe because your subscribers appreciate the shorter videos. That's cool. But maybe you can do a follow-up or something with new features that you discover to make your content even more valuable so they can go back and see your other videos as well. Some of the videos I watched had great tutorials in them, and I recommend that you do go in this spreadsheet and check those out down here. I've also got them in the description of this video. And when did this happen? That wasn't. But that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. I've been Robert Jean, signing out.
Colonel, what's a Russian gunship doing here?